Hello, Eleni Shear here and welcome or welcome back. Thank you for being here. Today I'm going to do a mixing video where I'll go through how I mix my paints and pigments and what mediums I use, and also going to go through the consistency and how it feels and looks and for all the different techniques. So let's get into it. I'm going to use Amsterdam's Pearl White, and it's a transparent colour. So when the box is empty like that, it means it's transparent. When it's half full, it's semi-transparent, and if it's like filled up with black, then that means it's opaque. And there's the variations, there's some that are semi-opaque. So I'm starting off with 15 grams of paint, and okay, more. 15 grams of paint, and tear that, and I'm going to really shape the floetrol well. I've also got a stocking on the end of my floetrol to keep any lumps out, because the floetrol can get a bit lumpy. And I'm going to use 15 grams of floetrol. Okay, that's good. And let's just mix that really well. Okay, next I'm going to add my PVA glue, and I'm going to do another 15 grams of undiluted PVA glue. So I'm just going to do the water after. Just mix that in really well. So far we've done 1 part paint, 2 parts of the medium, 2 different mediums. And then we're going to start to add the water to get to the consistency that we want. So there are 3 types of consistencies, or maybe 6. There's thick to medium, medium, medium to thin, thin and very thin. So for the thick, you would use thick consistencies, the blob and the bloom. Maybe with the blob you might have to add a little bit of gel gloss just to keep it sort of standing up. The bloom is a whole different recipe, but you can do like a faux bloom with a very thick consistency of thick, but you can do thick to medium for the bloom. And then all the ones in the middle for the medium, medium thin, medium thick are the ring pours, dirty pours, flip cups, cloud pours, balloon smashes. The pearl pour is more medium to thin, and then the thinnest will be your Dutch pour. Okay, so let's start to add water now to get to a thick consistency. So, I mean, this is a little bit too thick for the thick, maybe it might work for the blob. So not adding any water to this consistency might be good for the blob. Start adding the water, and for the Dutch pour I would imagine you'll need around 15 grams of water, but let's start with just 2 grams to start with for the thick consistency. Oh well, that's 7. That's my hand slip there. But I think we're going to need about 7 anyway for the thick consistency. So 7 grams of water in this gives you a fairly thick consistency for your blooms and your maybe some ring pours. Okay, and you can see it's a mound on a mound, and it takes about 3 to 4 seconds to disappear. So that's a mound on a mound, and it takes about 3 seconds to disappear. So, and that was 7 grams of water. And it's not a lot of water. And also what matters is that when you're doing a pour, you use the same sticks for all your colours, and you always lift it up the same distance, even if you're doing your base paint, to get the same consistency chart, so that you can see the differences between thick, medium and thin. Okay, so let's put a little drop on there. Okay, and now we're going to add maybe another 5 of water. Let's do 4. And you've got to really be careful with the water, because it's harder to thicken up your consistency than it is to thin it down. So if you accidentally put too much water in, what you need to do is separately make a roux with some extra paint. So you add your mediums and sort of less medium, so that it's a thicker paint, and then you add it slowly into this. Okay, so now this is the medium consistency. You can see it runs off really quickly. It creates a mound, but then disappears after a second and a half. Okay, so that would be your medium consistency for your pours, flip cups, cloud pours, balloon smashes, and anything else really. So most of your pours are medium consistency. So you can see how it just pours into the cup, leaves a mound and disappears after a second and a half. So it's just a smaller mound. So we'll just put that on, yeah. And we'll see how they run differently. And then another 5 grams for thin consistency. And that's for your Dutch pours and your cloud pours. And just 1 more gram, and that will make it around 15 grams. Actually, if I just put a spray, just a little spray. It's easier to control. Okay, there you go. So this just leaves like a little pyramid. It comes off the stick, leaves a pyramid and disappears straight away into the cup. And that's perfect for your Dutch pours. You can have it even thinner than this for your Dutch pours, but I don't. I prefer it to be like this. So you can see it runs off the stick, leaves a bit of a pyramid and disappears straight away. Just put another dollop here. So if you want to download this consistency gauge, you can find it online if you just put in consistency gauge, and I've laminated it because I just prefer to use the same one all the time, so I don't have to keep printing them out. And it will run a bit faster, but it's all relevant. So you hold it up for about 5 seconds, and they should all run differently. There you go, perfect. So you can see the thick one. That's a bit hard to see, I should have chosen different. We've got the thick, medium and thin. So that would be for your Dutch pour. It goes up to 5 or 6 on the level for the Dutch pour. And then you've got the in-between consistencies, but once you do this, you'll get the feel of what you like for your different paint pouring. So I just love, at the moment, I'm in love with Dutch pours, so I'm doing this one. So I've used 1 part paint, 1 part floetrol, and 1 part undiluted PVA glue, and 15 grams of water for the Dutch pour. And it was 5 grams of water for the thickest, or it was 7 actually. And then another 5 grams was for the medium, and then 15 was for the Dutch pour, which is quite simple. But have in mind that each paint brand has different densities, and even each colour in the same brand has different densities. So it might be a gram or two less or more water. And once you do this for a while, you'll get the feel of when you need to add a little bit more water or a little bit less. So hopefully this is kind of simple for you to understand. And now I'm going to mix up the pigment. So I'm using shimmer. When you're doing your paint pours, it's good to have the consistency gauge so that you can check all your consistencies are the same. And you just put your blobs down and lift it up for 5 seconds, and then you'll make sure that they're all in the same consistency. Right, now I'm going to measure this, but I usually do about 2 of these. They don't even show up on the measuring thing. So it's just 2 sort of small thumb sizes of the pigment. Then I'm going to use a little bit of watered down varnish just to mix up my pigments and disperse the pigments so they melt. Okay. And wear a mask when you mix pigments because the dust is very fine and it can get in your chest. And you don't want that. So that was about 1 gram of pigment, and then it was about 8 grams of varnish. Okay. And then I'm going to add a gel medium to make the pigment more like a paint. And again, it's a thumb size amount. Just put that in there. And now just mix that really well. Make sure it's all smooth and no lumps. Just scrape the sides and the bottom really well. Just mix it really well. Okay, so as you can see, it's lovely, nice thick paint there. Okay, now I'm going to add 20 grams of floetrol. And then just mix that in really well. And then 20 grams of glue, the PVA glue, and that's undiluted again. And then mix that really well. And then we're just going to do the same thing as I did with the paints, is just add your water to the consistency that you need. So I'm going to do this one for Dutch pour, and it was probably going to need a little bit less water because it's fairly runny as it is now. So I'm probably going to need about 5 grams of water in this. But if you wanted to make it a thicker consistency, you would add maybe 1 more dollop of the gel gloss medium by Liquitex. Okay, so that looks quite good. I'm just going to probably only need a couple of squirts of water. And that's perfect consistency for the Dutch pour or the cloud pour or any other technique that you need for fairly thin. Okay.